Forward.
Under the senior tax, okay.
Yep.
It says 40% of the town is over 60. And then it says that you can get $1,500 off the federal income tax.
No,
I know,
no.
but we need to
It's real
correct that.
estate
to real
tax.
Yeah.
estate
Yeah,
tax.
real
Yeah.
estate.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
And there's 40%.
Yeah.
That sounds.
Well, I went through the whole, what's the thing we get where we have every
List of
all the
persons.
residents listed
Yeah.
17 years and older.
Yeah.
And I went through that, it's 40%.
Oh, because
Were
it's.
born before
it's not
1965.
Doesn't include children.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
anybody
right.
over 17.
Okay.
So yeah, that is high. I mean, higher than I thought it was. But Hull is 60%. I was surprised to see that.
I've just. On the liaison reports under the preserve. It should be, I was thinking it should be the units that are for rent, not for sale. Let's change that word. But actually, the health department is going to inspect all rental units in town, not just for preserve. So maybe it ought to be changed to reflect that.
Is there a reason for that?
Well, it should have been done, should be being done anyway.
Oh, okay, so it's just catching up. to-
Whitehall has done it for years apparently, but because of the complaints they had at the preserve, the Board of Health decided that they would now inspect all rental units in town when they turn over. Probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So for renting, say that, so temperatures.
Okay, I have the motion, can I have a second?
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Yes, have it. Treasurer's report.
So the internal reports we get are still, excuse me, good morning. Waiting to be updated with the carryovers. So we still show that reconciliation at the bottom of the page. That's pretty much all. And we don't have, the internal reports do not reflect any accounting for pergola yet. But I'm sure once the town accountant's in place and starts updating all the accounts, we'll have that, and we'll make sure that what we see is what we expect to see, and if it isn't, then we can, find out what it is we're missing.
Well, I've got a lot of questions on that, but we'll wait until we get to the subcommittee.
Exactly, right, I
Okay.
wasn't gonna go into it. So under our general fund, the town appropriation account, we spent 28,000, spent 28,000 during the month of September. Remember, this is for September 30th. Period, which represents 20% of our budget. Was gone, it's a 3-month period, first quarter is over. So, but what's happening in that 20%, it's really a result of two different percentages that come through. The personnel expenditure rate is low at approximately 17%, which we expected. And our operating expense rate is high at 47%. So what's happening is that Megan and I talked a little bit about this, and that we're looking at some budget line items in program services and congregate meals are the two line items that appear to be a little out of whack. And it's basically, I think, because they're revolving fund type expenses. So they'll be reclassified out. Under the formula grants, second column and second page is the detail of that column. We had no receipts during September. We had expenses in the formula grant representing the kitchen help. ARPA grant expenses were food related. ARPA grant did close September 30th. So we expect when the town accountant comes in, that grant will be closed out. I reflected down on the bottom of the page, this $3,000 adjustment to bring it down to zero.
Excuse me 1 second.
Sure.
Paul is asking to be let in as a panelist.
Thank you.
Paul, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you.
On the ARPA grant, are we getting another one?
Nope, the ARPA grant has since been closed, and we did submit some gift cards for it at the end of the month within the scope of the grant. But unfortunately, the monies just aren't there to support that any longer, so it is a little bit of a loss. And we were hopeful that we'd have that, but looking into new ways that we can get some funding to support some stuff and stuff.
Where did the ARPA grant come from? Where does it come
From other services. So they have, though, provided some additional opportunities for us that I can talk about shortly.
Thank you. Under revolving fund, we're reflecting an excess of revenues year to date over expenses of $1,773. I think part of that might be this reclassification that we'll be working on between the budget items and revolving fund items. And under gift receipts, our fund balance is 58,000, of which 33,552 is unrestricted at September 30th. September 30th. So basically, highlights. What's that, questions?
What is the capital project all of a sudden has 567,000 in there? I know.
That-
it's-
That's 500,000 for the HVAC. They put it in the department, which.
Yep.
So it's the HVAC, and it's also the two vehicles.
Okay. So you have it broken out by the two.
We do.
Okay.
Two vehicles and HVAC. I mean, I don't show it. We haven't had the activity come through yet, but if you'd like to see it, and these are working schedules.
Just want to make sure we're tracking it separately because I think the vans might hopefully it'll be done by December 1.
Right. Yes, they have separate account codes on the internal reports, so it does reflect.
Okay.
Questions on the report? We get a motion to accept? On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, Beck, now it's up to you.
Great. So we have our first of all, thank you for having me. We have our van update, which, I will let Chief Sylvia talk a little bit about, and I also did want to just make a quick announcement there, out of respect for all of the work that Chief Sylvia has been doing for the center for a long time. He has accepted the lead driver position. And we are hopeful that in the future, we can start working on the transportation survey next. But such a great contribution. He's already doing all the duties that exist within the role that we already have. So happy to make that announcement.
Get a
Did that
badge.
go out to bid? Did that- Was that a posting that I missed?
No, nobody else even wanted the judge, so I guess that's
Well,
all right.
Congratulations, yes.
Gonna get hubcaps?
Never know what we might get. Just don't know. Do you want me to just do a quick
Do you wanna
report?
do it? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait to get subcommittees.
Okay. So we did our exercise survey. I brought a copy and I think I sent it along. We had 49 participants, which was a fairly good number, I thought. The results, I don't know if anyone has any questions about it or got the opportunity to look through it, but it looks like there's some classes that were requested in the afternoon was something that I saw. And then we're already working, Patty, Diane and I, to create some of the high level workshops that were identified as needs. So we've started to roll out probably about 5 or 6 of the things that have come from the surveys toward planning for the future. So I'll have more updates on that at the next meeting. We are working with the 4th grade. I know that we have in the past. Meg O'Hara over at the school has reached out, and I've spoken to Karen about how we can incorporate the 4th grade students into the cafe. We're going to be focusing on fostering intergenerational dialogues. I had given some questions to students, to maybe prompt them, less maybe game focused and more question focused. So I'm excited for that. It used to be a little longer, but now it's going to be about 45 minutes. And there are 5 4th grade classes that will have the opportunity to come in. And I just got the dates on those, so I will share them with you at the next meeting. We had the opportunity, Richard and I, to go over, like Richard Gibbons, to go over to the launch program just to see their operation over there and express gratitude for all they do. I attended the Norfolk County DA training. Something interesting is there's an Are You Okay program. I'm not sure if anyone is aware of it, but yeah, this is maybe not for every person, but it's a good opportunity for some. It's a daily phone call, and I know that other towns highly utilize this program. It's a phone call that happens at the same time every day, so it's predictable. And sometimes it's a call that people look forward to every day. So they're saying, "Are you okay?" And the person will say yes. And then if there's continued conversation, someone will then pick up and have more of a conversation, which does happen at time. And it's just a source of support for someone in the community that might benefit. The enrollment for Cohasset right now is 3 people, which is really low. So if there's interest in that, I can certainly provide more information. It's an easy enrollment process, and they will come in at some point to talk more about that program.
Can you put something in the Vista?
Absolutely. Yep.
Do we have any clients out of the 3 people who come here?
1. I met with South Shore Elder Services just to continue to foster our partnership and also to talk about the ARPA grant. Right now, there is no funding left in that ARPA grant, but they do have a caregiver support program right now that isn't income driven. So if someone is taking care of a person in the community, there is monies in that account as a one-time fee to be provided to people. So if there are anyone who knows someone who might want a referral, Diane, Patty, and I are happy to assist with that. And it is a great program. They've been providing bingo size for us as well. I've asked them if they could continue that again next year. And I'm hopeful that they will say yes. And they're willing to potentially do a community needs assessment over at the Housing Authority if we determine that that wants to be done. So that's
I do have a question.
okay.
So, next time you do the Zoom thing, you have to add me as a panelist, I think, and then the camera will come on. But I have a question of every year there's the the Mass Council on, for Elder Affairs, the statewide program. So MCOA. Oh, there we go.
We don't see you.
We don't see you.
We don't see you.
I promoted you to a panelist.
Oh, there we go.
Nice shirt.
Thank you. So, in just keeping with the spirit of fostering relationships between the existing COAs, so there's a seminar that Nancy or some of the folks would go to from time to time, which is the statewide Mass Council on Aging. That's this week. It's the 23rd to the 25th, and I would think you at minimum would go, being that you're new to elder affairs in this arena. So I was wondering what your plans were for attending that.
Yes, so Diane is going to go on Wednesday and I'm going to go Thursday, Friday. I'm going to leave a bit early on Thursday so that I can be back in time for the community dinner.
Okay. Oh, terrific. So we do have people going.
Yes, yep.
Awesome.
And Meg, on that caregiver support program, is that a Vista type of disclosure too? Should that be in Vista?
Absolutely.
I mentioned it to a couple of people and they were jumping all over.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
It's a non-income, no income limit. So that's an option for a lot of people. It's tough.
Yep, anyone here is providing caregiver services on some level, so. I'd imagine that applies to a lot of people, so. We are, yes, working with local council on aging. I'm going to go visit Norwell next week, just to have some peer support. We are going to have, actually tomorrow, once a month, Joan is going to cook pastries so that fire department, police department, whoever from the town wants to come in can and talk to people in the community from 1:30 to 2:30 on the third Tuesday of the month. Joan has also kindly agreed to provide baked goods for the men's group as well, and I think that went over well.
Very well.
Shut them up, right?
I did share with Joan that we don't want to overextend her in any capacity, so if she ever feels that way, certainly let us know, but she said she had the bandwidth, so. Does anyone have any questions on anything so far?
Is there something like that for the women's group?
I certainly think that we could propose that.
I always thought
Is there a
about that.
women's group? Yeah.
Well, there is a women's group that's listed. I haven't been in the in the magazine. Yeah. And I've noticed that the guys get coffee and the women don't. And it ticks me off.
Did you say it's not me?
I don't think
I
so.
didn't think there was just
All those in favor?
just a women's.
I thought all the groups were women.
Women's all talk anyway.
Why
they
they're
all talk.
starting the men's group? Is it? They were all women.
Well, it's in the
Yeah, it's listed. Yeah.
It's
Well,
listed
we
in
need
the
to do
magazine.
something about that.
Okay.
Get it going.
We'll figure out.
Well, if there is one, they
Yeah.
should get coffee and cookies.
Yeah.
Well,
I-
they're appearing, Tuesday mornings when the exercise program is going on too, which I mentioned, it's a good thing, but we're all out there
Oh.
at 10:30 getting the goodies.
So that's our art class too, so
Yeah.
Tuesday morning's not good.
No,
We have to change that.
yeah.
That's just a bit of.
I will assess the equity of that.
Pastries.
I don't think we can afford that.
Quick building updates. When you call the phone, there's a short prompt that has been added. I did get feedback that it sounded like an answering machine, so I rechanged it, but it now says, please wait, your call will be answered in a moment. If you know your party's extension, please dial it at any time, and then it rings to a normal caller. I'm hoping that this will reduce for some of the staff, the phone calls that are coming in for people who just quickly know their direct extension, like, I want to reach Diane, without it being too cumbersome and taking away from the experience. So that was added, and I think it has decreased a little bit of volume for those who know exactly who they want to talk to.
Good. That's a great idea.
So,
Yeah.
The trees identified as a concern at the last meeting have successfully been removed. We received floor mats via a grant through the town, and we put them in high-level areas that are needed throughout the building. They're being cleaned once a week. If anyone sees an area that they think one would be of benefit, do not hesitate to let me know. We added a new Keurig and a tea box, and we're gonna put a water dispenser out there as well in the front living room. South Shore Vocational School, the superintendent came by to give an overview of the school. He met with the team. And we had a gap in our schedule for the third Tuesday of the month. So they have an industrial kitchen there, and the students are going to cook that day and bring the food over, and Joan will warm it. And they're also going to do the dessert as well to give her a bit of reprieve that day so she can plan for the week. So
So they're providing a lunch one day a month?
a lunch and a dessert. Yes,
Great,
yeah, the third
Every
Tuesday of the
month.
month.
great.
Wow.
There used to be a trip where you would take.
Right.
Yeah,
A bunch
yeah,
of them
yes.
to vocational school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Can we
great.
bring that up again?
Absolutely.
That's how you want.
They used to do And they had great food. They're good cooks over there. Yeah, they're training them, yeah.
Is it a regular day? Is that their?
So
The
they,
lunch.
they have a lunch already planned at their facility, so it will coincide with, we said that it would be ideal if they have the 3 different meals that were continuous, so they're going to try to work that out in their schedule. But they're already cooking that day, so it'll just be cooking a little bit extra.
Part of what they're trying to do is increase students from Cohasset. There are very few Cohasset
Yes.
students in the regional high school. So I think that somebody needs to do something, whether it's us or them, to promote what they're doing here. The idea is. So I think it's great.
I think the enrollment, correct me if I'm wrong, is somewhat under 3%. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's very small, just a couple of kids. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to get more popular.
And they have an allied health program as well, and an aesthetics program, so they're working with Patty Smith a little bit to see how they can bring some services in on a different level as well.
Yeah.
So that might be a good opportunity, and they're starting a plumbing program too. I know they've always said HVAC, but.
They can practice.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
She has-
I know, but, hey,
Speaking of HVAC, I'm happy to have facilities come in next month and provide a further update, but I did speak with them. The parts that are necessary for the project will not be here for about a month or so, so mid-November, December. At that time, it would be, what I'm told, unsafe to open any walls to the building for risk of putting pipes at exposure for freezing. So unfortunately, that will mean that the project will happen in the springtime. The good thing about this is that we will have the parts and we have the quote, and that's not going to change. It falls below what our budget that we proposed for it is, and we also have the vendor. So we sort of have the capacity to plan this now that we have all of these things in place as we see fit, so we can pick and schedule a bit better now that we have everything that we need. But where this is a warming center, it's just not worth taking the risk of having anything happen. So we're being proactive and trying to identify, and if anyone else identifies, please let me know areas that we can put heaters ahead of time. And that might mean minimizing some of the programming, the second floor in some of the colder months, January, February, because it does get a bit colder up there, but we're not going to shut that door upstairs ever. We still want to keep it warm upstairs, because if we shut it, then, we'll be at risk for the pipes freezing. So.
Heat hatches anyway. Yeah.
So what areas of the building are unsupported by the current system?
So we had them come in last week and it feels okay in here to me right now, but they were able to identify a pinhole in the system and they were able to put Freon in, and it's a lot warmer than it was last week. But the areas that are at risk are behind that door on the second floor, keeping that area warm. And then I'm told that the community room kitchen always are having heat and they haven't had an issue with that in the past. But if there's any areas that you see that you're finding to be very cold, just let me know right away. And I certainly am checking every day in the building too. Because I want to put a heater out and we ordered a bunch as well, so just in case.
But I think the offices last year were really a problem.
And so we already have a heater in every office, so.
Yeah, this room got cold last year too, but. They're cold, so that's okay. Oh, what is the holdup with the HVAC?
I think there's like a national supply ordering for parts that has been significant for the HVAC and plumbing industry. And right now it is parts, and although they are coming, just the time of the month that they're coming, it's not ideal to start a project in the winter.
No,
And how are we funding the heaters and everything? Do you know where that's getting charged?
So most of the heaters that have come in already have existed within the town. So I did ask them quite early, so they were able to provide a lot, and they're gathering some more. The community supper is scheduled for Thursday. The team is working hard on that, as I know you all are too. Video filming, Kevin Perry and Don and Adam from 143 have been working really hard to capture the building. The idea is to help people who maybe have never been to the center be able to look at the website briefly, as some other towns have on theirs, and just see what it's like. There will be a voiceover as well describing it. I would love to capture people. You can talk about this after, but if the board wants to be included in that, I would love to have that, but that's something that you can decide upon. And then we can put that on our website so people can see. Trisha has started a social work support pilot, and it's going well. Her slots are filling up. There's 3 slots every other week, just to support the need that we already know exists for social work and have that data. And also to help people maybe at the front desk who might not have the answer that a social worker could potentially have, by scheduling them and having that as a resource, and helping people who might not take advantage of a walk-in appointment but would schedule one. So trying to open up access to care the best we can. The town hosts a health fair, but I do think that we might have a bit different of a demographic. So I'm hopeful in August, I'm working with Patty and Diane to schedule a health fair that would really focus on services. Some people come into the building and they want to highlight whether it's a VNA, a hospice, or skilled nursing facility, assisted living. And there's also a lot of physicians that would be willing to do health screenings as well. So having people come in to really highlight their service line that we can't always capture when they're coming in to maybe say hi. So giving everyone the opportunity to talk about their services and having more one-to-one conversations, having veterans tables as well and other organizations, that might be fitting. So
I have one comment on that. I don't know if the town has a policy, but we certainly have been sensitive to more private groups that want to come in and convey, information and services. So there are a lot of for-profit groups that want to come here and do things like that. So we, in the past, have not had them come in specifically because they're just really kind of pushing whatever their product is.
So we're able to charge an advertising fee for people who are maybe for-profit agencies to support the table needs and generate some funding from the event that would go back to supporting the center, because essentially it could be used as to your point, an advertising platform. So there could be a nominal fee included, which is usually the standard that most centers in the past have done, because I know that exists as well, but some of them a lot of them do still have relevant information that could be helpful to people. And I was hopeful not to minimize that. Although some could be for profit, to your point.
Thank you.
But I think it's appropriate to have them come in, because where else are people gonna get the information? So yeah, the fact that you can charge them, that's great, but I wouldn't want to restrict it. I'd like to, since we're trying to hit the demographics, anything that falls into that area.
Yeah, I get a lot. I get several calls wanting to know where people can get help for, coming home from the hospital or recuperation or, when they're back, kind of thing. And, I don't know of any agencies where you can get that for free. So, but there are agencies that do
Yeah.
supply that kind of help. And that's valuable for everybody.
Yeah.
So it would be probably a lot of agencies of the like, and additionally to that, working on the website in collaboration with Kevin Perry and trying to, under services, add in quick high-level links that would support exactly what you're saying, so people have quick access by referring to our website. And then another person had mentioned maybe if I was at home and I wanted to do some strengthening exercises, as we're, recording this video of the CEA, we're uploading with Amy, Chris, Sarah, some of our instructors here, some maybe 2, 3, 4 minute video clips on, basic yoga pose or how to strengthen or how to balance, that you can also refer to the website and watch our instructors, which I think is great, live, so you can get a feel for who they are, and then also be able to practice that at home as well.
Well, what Tana's talking about, I thought we did that once. I don't know how we did it. But again, somebody who's at the hospital and has to come home and recuperate, they're by themselves. The idea was to have somebody there, get a meal ready, if the house needs to be attended to. And we did that. I don't know how we got it. Maybe it was through the social service league.
I don't know, but I
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we've had,
We did have the first day home program.
yeah, well, we
Oh,
did.
yeah, okay, that,
Yeah,
and who
that
did
was,
that?
yeah,
Through Social Service League,
Yeah,
at Social Hospital.
but they're no longer doing it.
But that
Well,
be, I think.
It used to be called First at Home.
Yeah. But I'm talking about people just like us who need home care all around. There's a group called the Celtic Ladies of the South Shore that are supposed to be wonderful, but you have to pay them. I mean, obviously, and I think, and they charge money, but people who are not poor get sick and need home care. So, I just don't want to discount them
Yeah.
from coming here and making their services available, and people can choose whether they want them or not.
And I think it's, to your point, a good option to have a variety of people in, whether some might be non-for-profit or for-profit. Typically, if you are considered homebound after having some type of surgical procedure or anything, a fall, then you are qualified under your insurance benefit to have someone come to the house. It will be a covered stay. So just being able to honor patient choice and not being bound to one agency that you know of and being able to get a feel for different ones, I think is a good opportunity.
why August? Is there a reason for that?
It doesn't have to be August. I didn't want it to overlap with the towns.
Well, the town's
That's
in
March,
spring.
March.
Right, so we were thinking spring, but I was trying to
No.
not take
yeah.
away from that.
Right.
And then the fall tends, we have a few things planned for the fall.
Well, I just don't know if we're gonna get, August, I don't know how many people are away.
I based it on the attendance the data that I provided on the worksheet.
Oh, okay, it looks pretty healthy. Yeah.
It looked like it was a pretty busy month
Yeah, okay.
overall, so
I
that's,
stand corrected.
that was my guideline that was my. So we have our Shine counselor, Sue Laspada, who is going to have regularly scheduled hours every other Wednesday, starting in January. So that will be a great opportunity. It's going to help decrease filling out paperwork beforehand, as we've done in the past. And she's going to be able to just meet with people individually. She can pull people through classes. She'll have a formal sign-up sheet. And we're really trying to engage people that might not sign up for an appointment for her. And she's been incredibly helpful. So that will be hopefully a good opportunity to to expand upon that, those services.
What does SHINE stand for?
You had to ask me.
Supplemental health insurance.
Needs.
Okay.
Yeah, I never actually.
I think between us, we got
So-
all.
Yeah, we got all those letters.
I think this year is important too, because there's some big changes in.
There is.
In different areas that people, if they just ignore it, like every year they just have whatever they had last year, they don't bother with, they're not going to learn, and this year you will learn. I had a lady calling me the other night, panicked, saying to me, are they taking away my drug plan because my husband takes this, and this, and expensive. I said, no, they're closing out the donut hole, and you need to make an appointment for a town council to sit down to understand what they're doing. It's going to be a big help for a lot of people that take a lot of medication.
And I think just having that, so we'll be in 2 weeks, just set up an appointment, having something so that we can reduce any panic or fears. And have that standing appointment will hopefully help. I'm looking, I have the acronym written somewhere in here. But I will report back on that.
Supplemental health, that helped.
Supplemental insurance needs.
Yeah.
Insurance needs.
Explained.
But
Yeah.
Eleanor had it. He is the elderly. He is elderly.
We'll be doing as we, I know that, and thank you to Nancy, what a legacy for the accreditation. But as we look forward in the future, although we have time for reaccreditation, thinking about things on what we can expand upon. So to me, that looks a little bit, one layer of it looks a little bit like training staff in areas that we might not otherwise be trained in. So we're gonna have a Narcan training today for staff. And then we're additionally going to set one up for members of the center if they want to be trained in it as well. So more to come on that date. We're going to work with the Cohasset Police and the library to offer de-escalation training for the staff. And we have identified the need for a 16-hour front desk position to support the CEA. In speaking with staff one-on-one, asking them what would be supportive to them, they have noted to me that someone at the desk would be very helpful in the mornings. We want to be cognizant of honoring our volunteers. This is a very thoughtful thing, and we have made our morning volunteers, we have quite a few gaps right now, aware that we still want and need you here. There's no reason that there can't be 2 people, and if you would like to apply, certainly you can. So I certainly appreciate the people we have, and we certainly don't want to lose them, but there is a consistent need for a presence out there, a warm face every morning from probably 8:30 to 12:30, only Monday through Thursday. Fridays, we wouldn't need, so.
After we talked about this last week, first of all, I think it's a great idea, but as you're looking at people to come and staff this, which is essentially 16 hours a week,
Mhm.
you may want to look at the opportunity of staffing 4 hours at a time. Only because I don't think anybody's going to want to spend every morning in here, for 16 hours. It's not worth it. But perhaps somebody would come in on Mondays, another person on Tuesdays, and then you'd have a bench where you could rotate and people are not going to be able. Looking for one person to do this 4 days a week, I can't see
Is
how.
this a
you're gonna be
volunteer
able to fill
position?
that. No, no,
Paid
it's paid.
position.
Someone might have 16.
Yeah, mother's hours.
Every day? Every day?
It could be,
4 days.
I think they really need is.
4 hours is.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's just talking about who you'll get to apply.
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than the need. How are we gonna fund that?
It's
That was
already
my
funded.
question. It is the.
It's
funding.
So
funded.
it's been approved and it can go through the formula grant if that's if everyone thinks
Yeah.
that's appropriate. It's about $14,000 per year and it falls within the scope of EOEA guidelines. I did verify just to make sure that it did. And it would be supportive of that, and there is funding in there, and we will receive additional 15,000 in a few weeks, couple weeks from now.
Do they have, and one thing, I actually spent some time this week reading the Vista, the whole thing, reading it all. I know. I did. Not like me, and I did that. I found a couple of holes that I really thought need to be brought up. One is that I agree with you 100%. Having somebody in the morning here for 4 hours to recognize a stranger coming in, to recognize people coming in that have questions or looking at some answers for things. They don't exist right now. And people can stand there looking very dumb for a good amount of time without anybody. The other thing I noticed was that some of the people that are at the desk, they're busy. They've got things they have to do in the morning. It's starting and you're saying hello, but yet you're doing something also. And there are people that just plain have questions. They have things they want and that kind of then leaves this void again where there's nobody there to greet a new person coming in to go to an exercise program or go upstairs or downstairs, that kind of thing. That was one thing. Then the other thing I noticed that I kept going over and over things is I don't understand it, is why do we have so few activities after 1 o'clock?
So that was identified in the assessment that I did. And so I've reached out in collaboration with Diane and Patty to see if we can include, because the feedback was we want exercise classes in the afternoon, we work in the morning from a lot of people. And I definitely can see that that's a need. So we've already reached out to a couple of our instructors to see if there's room in their schedule and maybe incorporate a new instructor if there isn't, to offer some exercises in the afternoon.
It was very obvious. If you go through it, you very obviously see everything in this place seems to end at 1:30.
Yes.
There's nothing between 1:30 and 4
Well,
o'clock.
so nothing, there's
Well,
cornhole that comes in.
Yeah,
It's
and
mahjong until 3 or
Yeah.
so.
We did just get new sets.
But we
Yeah, but
also
not
have to
a
look
lot.
at what programs will stop. If, let's say we move exercise to 1 to 3
I'm not
in the-
talking
on a
about moving
Tuesday.
things.
on Tuesday, well, that means cornhole's gone.
Not necessarily.
Well,
Sure it is. We
Yeah,
haven't
well,
got
there's
it.
other days of the week besides.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we've got
So
2
we've been
days set
thinking-
aside. So we gotta, as we change programs or increase programs, and we should, because we're getting oversubscribed in so many programs. We gotta understand what else we're,
Oh,
we
yeah.
add this,
No,
but then we
I
take
agree.
that
I
out,
agree.
so,
I agree.
okay.
But this was just plain
Yeah.
use of the building.
Yeah.
yeah, bocce and cornhole are only Tuesday and Thursday.
Right.
I mean, there's still Monday and Wednesday.
Exactly. So we've been looking at Monday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
We did think
Just
of that.
leave Tuesday and Thursday alone.
Don't
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
We were not messing with Tuesday and Thursday afternoon.
Good.
There is opportunity.
Had to bring it up.
Trust me, I already thought of that. So, and then we have to think about if this is exactly to your point, if this is a regularly scheduled event on a Wednesday, how will that impact presentations in this room? So Monday may be a better opportunity, but
Yeah.
I think that we just have to look at the schedule a little bit better,
Right.
but I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm thrilled that you're doing the thing in the morning because that's very obvious, especially
Yeah.
lately. I've noticed it.
Well, what
You
I've
have
noticed-
continuity too, of
Yeah,
somebody
well,
that's.
yeah, that's
they
important,
would-
because what
No,
happens is someone at the
do
desk still has to go ask Richard what,
Correct.
the answer.
Yeah.
So the person has to be well-trained and understand what they can do.
Correct.
And having said that, I know you're also interested in other duties that the person would perform. Anything that takes them away from that desk is a problem,
Agree.
okay?
The-
So,
the
and as you
only-
said, that there were people trying to do productive administration at the same time,
Yeah.
nobody was there to answer the question.
Yeah.
So the desk is important.
The only thing that I can imagine taking away from the desk is if a tour were to be given.
Now, maybe that is something where you have one of the staff do it.
Ideally, that would be the
Yeah.
case, but other than that, that's the only thing I can really imagine. All right, I know I'm taking a bit long here, so I'll wrap this up, but we had a great turnout for the Boston Harbor Cruise. We have the Thanksgiving luncheon, save the date, November 21st, 12 to 1. We have the holiday book fair, Monday, November 25th, from 10 to 2. We've added an additional tech support in collaboration with the library for emergency alert signups. It was identified by some helpful people here and Richie and the enrollment process that it was a bit cumbersome for some people. So the library is going to add an additional hour dedicated to that emergency alert sign up to make sure that people are getting onto that system so that they don't miss anything important that's happening. And if there's a need for more, then we can support that. The end of summer cookout went well. There was really overwhelmingly positive feedback, 80 participants. Grandparents' Day, Diane and Patty, I know worked really hard on this. The highlights of it and the feedback was great, including baby goats. So Patty is already working on a date for next year. And then these are some of our transportation service activities and website traffic updates at the bottom, if you have questions on those.
Add one thing, I was just talking with Karen, they're having a pancake breakfast
Yes,
on Monday, the 25th. Sweet 16.
yes,
Yeah. What's my
thank you.
25th,
November.
November 25th, same day as the book.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's handy.
That's a good,
Yeah.
And that will be to celebrate their 16th anniversary, which thank you very much for noting that. That's
What is it called? Breakfast?
Pancake
Pancake
breakfast.
breakfast.
So last year, that book fair, they had some authors there. I don't know if you can, and that was really interesting. It was really a nice addition to it. It was, local authors.
Any questions for Beck? We have a motion to accept the director's report. On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Subcommittee. Chief, would you like to start with the band?
Sure. Where we stand at the present time, obviously, we completed the sale of the two 2019 vans. And all of that is done. We received 32,000 for one and 33 for the other. So a total of 65,000. And of that, we spent 42 and change because of with the fees and taxes and whatnot, not taxes, but fees and titling that we had to do with the Odyssey van. The balance that we received from Honda of Ocean Honda of Hanover was 22,826. So that money went back to capital budget. So that goes toward the purchase of the T350 van. The T350 van, just to give you some quick numbers on that, we're looking at, let's see if I've got the right ones here. The estimated cost of the van was from the Ford dealership or the state bid dealer, I should say, $53,989. The upfit is approximately $25,244. So the total bill for that will be $79,233.52, less the $22,826 that we talked about. So our cost for that van is $56,407 and change.
That's good.
So that's where we are.
Is it for that whole van outfitted?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
where we did pretty well with those other two vans. The good news is that we were able to sell them for a good price.
Yeah.
The bad news is they weren't really that serviceable to us. So we're
Yeah.
hoping that the new van, and I will give you, I'll put this and you guys can distribute appropriately. That's basically what we're looking at for the new T350 van. As you can see, to serve as a backup to the bus, I refuse to just separate these. I refer to the truck that's out there that we're using as the bus. To back up the bus, this van will have a lift out the back door.
Okay.
So that if for some reason the wheelchair lift or the bus or whatever is out of service, we can still do that type of transport using the other van. It's GVW or gross vehicle weight is big enough that we can do all of that. So that'll be the backup. So that's the proposal of what we're going to do with that vehicle. Again, that's to be decided by everybody. Take a hard look at it. If there's something that doesn't make sense, you can see that the two seats on one side fold up, such as what happens with the bus right now, so you can do more than one wheelchair at a time if needed. We haven't run into that yet, but we have that ability. So we got a lot of flexibility built into this. So that's kind of where we stand on this, on what we were looking for. Now, the bad news. On July 1, we were quoted by the Ford dealer that it would take 12 to 16 weeks to receive a van. Next Friday is, or this coming Friday, is 16 weeks. And as of last Friday, we still don't have a commitment from Ford. So talked to the dealer, and I talked to the van sales folks. And unfortunately, they don't know what's going on with Ford. We're trying to get an update from Ford. But, you know, right now, since the pandemic, I guess they still haven't caught up to all the things that they need to do. So we're still waiting on a date for the delivery of the van. The good news from Quality Van Sales was they originally told us 4 to 6 weeks once they received it. Laurie Beth Schofield at Van Sales has told me point blank, she'll get it done within 4 weeks. So the moment we finally get it drop shipped to them, then we're looking at a 4-week delivery time. So unfortunately,
regardless of the lead time, the price is gonna change.
not from Quality Van Sales.
I
No,
mean, from Ford.
from Ford, we don't know. They did, when they gave us the price, the estimated price in July, they had a figure in there as a possible increase. So we're not even sure that that 53,989 is spot on. I wanted it to be less. It might be slightly more. We won't know until we get a commitment from Ford. I'm told once Ford gives us a commitment, they'll give us a VIN number. So that means that officially it's being built and it has a number. So we're still waiting on that. I wish I had better news, and I don't know anybody that high up in the food chain at Ford that we can beat up. So that's kind of where we stand on that. So before I finish, go
Just
ahead.
come with hubcaps?
I don't know. Well, this one should.
Well, the other.
Yeah,
one
the
is-
state bid one didn't. You're absolutely right.
Well, white
State
balls
bid one
too.
didn't.
Yeah.
Well,
Hubcaps.
yeah, he wants wheel trim. Now, I get it. Hopefully it'll
Randy
come through with
McMahon.
something.
What's your
But,
finish?
so there's
You need a
the,
hubcap.
that's where we are.
No hubcaps.
That's where we are on the purchase and you know, when we've sold the other vehicles. I will give you a quick update on everything. The Nissan Leaf, the blue car that we use for the medical transports. First, the battery was headed in the wrong direction. It had to go back to Nissan. The good news, or back to the dealer. The good news on that was the town picked up that cost because it would have absolutely decimated our budget. So we didn't have to worry about that. At the same time, there were a bunch of recalls that were done. I think part of the problem was those slipped through the cracks because technically that that car belongs to the town, not to us. So I'm gonna work with Michelle and the folks at Town Hall to make sure that we get kept on the loop of those things. And we're gonna pick up kind of the maintenance of that vehicle in regards to, we already do as far as the maintenance. We replaced the tires, we did the sticker. We do the kind of things that need to get done. And I have managed to cut a deal with the people at South Shore Car Wash. So we can get that washed and the Honda Odyssey washed for a whopping total of $7.50.
That's a deal.
So I work for a
I
lot
like
more
it
money
when you
than
do.
heck. All right, so that's a good thing. And as far as the Odyssey goes, nothing but good feedback in regards to that vehicle. We're not using it a ton, but while the Leaf was out of service for almost 2 to 3 weeks, we used the Odyssey. And I know that Steve Chamberlain, the other driver, he'd much prefer to drive that than the Leaf. But, you know, the Leaf gets pretty good mileage.
How old
So,
is one?
that Leaf, I think, is a 2019? I don't have to look.
Thought it was newer.
I'm not sure. Paul, do you have any idea on the Leaf?
This is.
Yeah, it was a 3-year lease and then we bought them after the lease, so we gotta be into year 5 or 6 with them by now.
Yeah, so I thought 2018, somewhere in that ballpark.
I thought they were new.
We got
I didn't
those,
realize what we had.
technically, the town, when the town got all 3 of them.
Yeah,
So, and the last thing we're working on, or I'm working on at the present time, is the thought process, and I discussed this with Meg, was that once a year with all of these vehicles, we want to send them out and have them professionally detailed. From stem to stern, undercarriage to the top of the roof, completely done so that they look like they're brand new. And the thought process on that is very simply the top of the bus is tough to clean. And it doesn't fit in the car wash. I can't take it to the local detailers because nobody has a door big enough for it to drive through. So we're working on that stuff, but that's the other thought process. The idea of maintaining everything like it's brand new, because our estimate is that we can get 8 to 10 years out of each one of these vehicles. That's what we want. At the 8-year point on the bus, it becomes ours. Right now, technically, the state still owns it. And it's in our possession, but they own it, hence the reason they asked for all of those reports. And I don't think there's any reason, based on mileage, why the Odyssey won't last at least 8 to 10 years. So with that thought process, we'll go back to when Paul has to sit in front of capital budget, or Meg has to sit in front of capital budget. They're gonna understand that this is our replacement policy, and it's based on mileage and maintenance. So that's kind of what I've got.
on the detail, maybe South Shore Voc Tech would have an opportunity there.
It's worth an ask.
Yeah, sure.
Worth an ask. I don't know, but why not?
May I ask a question?
Fire away.
I had a situation, first time I've ever done it, but I'm a fish driver. And I had a situation where a lady couldn't get in my car. And so the only option I had, because she said the only car she can get in is the electric car.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, do you offer, or would you offer, somebody who's never driven an electric car, a little walkthrough? See,
Absolutely. Yeah, training, that's those kind of things as far as that would be through Meg to get
Thought you were the
me
head
dialed
dude.
up. Yeah, but to get me dialed up through her, because more importantly, I don't know what the town policy is on anybody other than staff driving the vehicles that we presently have.
and it's.
So I can look into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how do we make sure we check that box?
Correct.
Properly trained,
Yeah.
check, and you can go
Yeah.
after it. The reason I mention that is obviously the bus itself. Because the state owns that, you have to go through inclusion training and lift training through the state before you're qualified to drive that vehicle. So without those two things, and I'm told they're gonna make us do that every year. I have to be brutally honest, but that's 10 years, or 10 hours of my life I'll never get back. Okay, it's, to hammer somebody, I don't think anything really changes that much in the course of a year as far as inclusion training. Probably the same thing, but it is what it is. And the lift training, it's it's not just the lift, but it's also the securement of wheelchairs within the van. Once you've been through it, if you do it every once in a while, it's not that hard to remember, and especially with the bus that we have. As you notice with that detail on that van, it's just the regular tracks in the floor. So therefore you have to put the securements in place. With the bus that we have, there's a pad in the back, and that pad in the back already has the securements ready to go. And it takes less than 2 minutes to secure a wheelchair in the back of that van, including a shoulder harness and the whole shooting match. So it really is pretty slick. And I'd love to think we could put that in the van, but we didn't include that in the cost, and I think it's fairly expensive. So we'll see. We'll see.
So I like the yearly training. That way nobody gets complacent. No, that's fine.
You like.
It's just,
you don't have to-
it's just the idea of, what do we,
I drive a yacht, I hit on.
you know, right now, I think, we have a volunteer that drives on Mondays with the bus, the older bus. That, unless we include him or whoever in that training, the MARTAP training that we all had to go through, that Steve and I had to go through, then in the eyes of the state, that person can't drive that van.
Right.
So whether they're qualified or not.
What are we doing with the old van? Thought we got rid of it.
Well, no, we're holding on to the
Oh, till
other
we get the
bus
new one.
until we get
Yeah,
until we
okay.
get the van. Which was a good thing, to be very
Yeah,
honest,
especially
because
since we
the
drag
bus had to go. We had a problem with an alarm inside the bus that wouldn't shut off. And it went down to Wilder Brothers. And they took care of that, but now we need to send it back to get that fixed. In the meantime, while it was being worked on, we used the old one.
Yep.
So we didn't lose out on anything, because we do have clients that much prefer to ride in the bus, even though the steps are a little steep. They prefer that over trying to get into a different vehicle. So we're working on those things.
Do we still have volunteer drivers?
Yes.
We do, yeah, we're looking into, as we just did that exercise assessment, we were able to identify a lot of things, and I've been talking to Bob about, and Liza doing a transportation survey next, so we can really identify, are we missing out on any areas that people may need or want to go? Bob, you're welcome to talk more on this, but to capture if there's a need for additional driving help, because right now we're a little bit tight with our current situation, but Chief Sylvia has really managed to know the needs of everyone in the community and made it all work. But is there a better way, or are we missing anything? We're not sure unless we ask, so.
A lot of our clients are asking about, can we go other places? So for the month of November, we scheduled it a Monday. I said, yes, I don't usually work Mondays and Tuesdays. Occasionally I have to do some other stuff. But on a Monday, I think it's the 18th of November, we're going to go to the Walmart in Quincy, which is something that was a request because we have clients that want to go shopping at Walmart to get other stuff, especially at that point, we're talking about Christmas shopping. I'm more worried about, I may have to have a trailer behind the thing that they buy, but that's,
Limited bags. that they
well,
get.
that's what we have to do. So we're looking,
Just to find them.
it could be quite an adventure. Let's put it that
Yeah, it
way.
happens at the grocery
I'll report back next month,
Yeah.
but they've also asked about, could we do, one of the big ones that I keep hearing about is, could we go to Market Basket?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, well, can we look at something like that? I'm told we used to do things like Christmas tree shop, and we used to do different things.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how do we fill that? And once we have the two vans, well, obviously one stays in town to do the things that it needs to do, and the other one could take a trip to X. And we're looking into those kind of things, and we're trying to figure out the logistics and whether or not that requires another driver, and how do we fund that, and all sorts of good stuff. So Meg and I have had this conversation, and as I said, we scheduled this trip to Walmart as a test case. And we didn't advertise the death out of it. It's only, you have to search on the calendar in the Vista to find it. Okay? So-
I did create a flyer.
Yeah, so we have a flyer that's created, so we know that it's difficult because the bus, with some of our clients, more than 6 is difficult. So if we're only gonna take 6 people, then it's a first come, first serve, and everybody else will end up on a waiting list. So we're waiting to see how much traction this gets. If we get a big call for it, then maybe we think about something else. You asked about why are we not doing programming in the afternoon? Maybe that's something we do on an afternoon. After 1 o'clock or after 2 o'clock, we make a trip to someplace that's not that far.
Yeah.
And we're back by closing time. So we don't know.
Is Quincy closer than we?
I was wondering
The
that.
reason Quincy's not closer, but
It's a bigger one.
it's, there it is. They said
It's a
it's a
Wegmans
super Walmart is how I was told.
You don't want to.
The Weymouth one was too small.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
As Jim said, I may have to go in search of. I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
sneak and
market
put
basket.
everything in my bag.
New job lot just opened in the Christmas tree shop.
I've already been down to check that out. Yes, I have. I went down and took care of all my
It's gonna take a day.
maintenance stuff for the house while I was there, so yes.
I
So
would
I went down.
It's quite nice, so the old building I
Just
did.
slip
That's what I said, I'm gonna get a bunch of air tags.
Go out the door, just slip them in there. Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's give them all paid, well, say when it
Give them
goes
a
up,
little
be back
flip
on the
back
back.
of their pants, and they won't even know that they're carrying them around. So, there you go. So that's kind of the whole spiel of where we are at the present time, and I think, as I said, Meg and I have had a long discussion about what other services could we possibly provide, and how does that impact what we need for drivers. So we'll see what that, and I don't know if, we haven't had a chance to talk to Steve. If we don't have medical rides planned, is he interested in doing something beyond that? So we'll find out. Any other questions, folks?
When you take people like to Walmart, do they get charged anything?
There's a requested donation for any trips outside of town. Do we stand at the door and say, and I think is it $5, I think is what it is.
If able to.
Yeah, so we don't,
Emphasize suggested.
That's
it's a suggested, and that's
All
why,
standard.
more than fair.
All
Yeah.
standard.
there you
Oh,
go.
you will.
So it's, a thought process of a trip to Walmart for 6 people at $5, the $30 in the course of a month isn't gonna blow up our account, I don't think, but, I understand what it is, and have I ever pressed the issue, especially like a medical ride out of town? No. Just, I've never, there's a little sign that says suggested donation, but that's kind of where it,
Make it bigger.
yeah.
Basket.
No.
Yeah, right next to your tip cup.
Yeah,
Just
Thanks,
exactly.
Chief. You're doing a terrific job on this. That's great.
Thank you.
I
I
do
will look
have,
for hubcap.
I will tell you, I do have one client that gave me a coffee cup last year, and she's not going to be around this year at Christmas time. I got it for Christmas last year. So she gave me a $5 bill to get another. So, yes. So did I receive a tip? Yes, I received one, actually 2.
Excellent.
Count.
Okay, any questions on the vans? Everybody all set? All right, let's move to the pergola. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes.
I got a report here. Did you get this?
They gave you that.
I don't know if there's some shenanigans going on here, but we spent 25 grand before this started.
That's correct.
Are we being double billed by Hingham Lumber?
Well, I looked at that. So we don't have any internal accounting within our department by pergola. But making,
So can you, that wasn't part of the meeting, sheets that came out. Can you send us a hard copy of that, please?
I think I'm the only one that has it.
well, I have a copy, make us a
Okay.
copy.
Okay, well, you have it in a public meeting now, so it's got to be part of the,
I'll give you the summary.
Okay.
This is the
okay.
Should we not
CPC
address it now
report.
if it's not in
This
the?
is the CPC report on the 75 grand that you got. And it goes through and all the expenses are listed against the 75 grand with a resulting balance of 17,000. As opposed to the 25,000 that I thought we would have. And we did spend the 25,000 in June for at least some of these materials, I think. I don't know whether we've been double billed or not. It just seems,
Yeah, so I actually talked to Glenn about that because we needed to spend the grant money before June 30th. So that was bringing in the raw material. And then the additional expenses after that, I thought were going to be about 45 or 55,000 with the contractor. So I wasn't sure if there were additional costs that came in from the original quote that they gave us. Because we should have had about a $25,000 cushion or $20,000 cushion. I think what's there now is what, 17?
1780.
Yeah, but then Glenn
17.
said there's an additional 6 he's anticipating for the electrical outlet.
So that's something that we have to, you're right, so that's separate, so. Um,
Well,
we probably should need, we need to go ahead and take a look at the invoices that came in that I think they were submitted to Tracy. At Town Hall, so. I think, Elaine, we should probably get together with Glenn to see where it is compared to what we were given, because we do need to account for the 25,000 on the grant, and we also need to account for what went against the CPC money. And that was for, building the pergola, and the extra funds were to be used for some of the extra build out, which was going to be the awnings and furnishings. When we were under the pergola, we identified an area of having, there was no place to plug things in. So we wanted electrical to be added to the patio area. So I think we should look at that separately, because what we don't want to do is disrupt any funding for the awnings and furnishings that we need. The 5,000 or 6,000 for the request for electricity outside, that's part of the facility. So I think we should look at it separately as a facility item, not part of the pergola project.
to be paid though through CPC funding, so.
I don't think we shouldn't pay anything out of CPC funding for the electrical work, the 6,000.
That seems high. I don't know.
That seems like
I
a
was just
lot.
gonna say that I
I
can't
don't know
believe
what-
it's $6,000.
They put in a sauna too?
What's involved?
The outlet, to my understanding, and I agree with you, Paul, about the facilities,
It's crazy.
but it was so it could support the need for, if you wanted to have presentations, a lot of heaters. It-
Serving food out there probably.
Exactly, so it was.
Lunches.
Maybe like a 210 volt panel, that seems like a high price to me as well,
Yes.
but. Right.
Because it's just outlet, it doesn't include lighting. This is not.
Well, they're saying it might be more. It seems to me it should only be lighting or for a microphone. Music, I don't think.
So there is, the plug that we used outside is right outside the window behind Eleanor. There's 2 plugs right there, and we ran an extension cord all the way over to the pergola, so we do have electricity out there. But this is, we should take a look at it and just put it on put together an article on the warrant, whether it was just probably too late to do it now for December, because I think the articles are closing. But the next one would be the Springtown meeting. I don't think that it's urgent to have the electrical put out there, but we should be able to have facilities put that on a budget for that specifically.
So I'm just curious, Paul, you may know this, it appears to be going, the CPC funding and expenditures are going through the town, not our department reporting. Shouldn't it be coming through our department? I mean,
Yeah,
what
so it's kind of weird.
responsibility.
Yeah,
for it?
the invoices are submitted to the town to be paid to the vendors. And I thought the CPC money would be put into our budget, because we had done that prior. We do have an account for when we to the building and then acquired the building, we had funding for furnishings. We had a separate account for that. So I would assume we would put the CPC money into that account, but there should be an account where the 25 grant was in, and then the 75 CPC goes in. And then the town pays the vendors and it gets deducted from those accounts, but I'm not sure if CPC money is controlled separately by the accounting department.
Just wondering if it's controlled separately by the accounting department, then who's overseeing it? Who,
Right. So that's the problem, right? So I did get a format from CPC that I will forward to you. But they just started sending out these forms to account for the funding over a 3-year period.
Yeah, well, but we'll have expended all of that money in the first year, probably, maybe. Let's see.
Right.
Looks like it.
Well,
So-
I mean, on the Hingham lumber, and obviously you people don't have all the details, neither do I. But our original grant, when we got the ball rolling on this thing, was 25 grand.
Right.
The Hingham lumber bills that are in here are about 25 grand, so just some shenanigans.
Well,
Doesn't look
no,
right.
not necessarily, I don't think we. I
Maybe
think
not
that's-
shenanigans.
That might be
That might be
harsh.
strong.
Yeah,
Somebody's ripping
I'm
us
sure
up.
there's an explanation. I looked at the original budget, the estimate
Yeah.
that Glenn gave us back in January, which was $17,000. Material costs for the option that we chose, the 18 by 30, was 45 grand plus. Those Hingham lumber bills on this new accounting, as well as the grant funding account that we had, add up to about 47,000. So the overage really doesn't
Okay.
appear to be with
Okay.
materials. The labor to construct and foundation excavation that Glenn gave us 22.5 for an estimate on, I guess that would be the IARIA. I think IARIA must have done all of the labor, it would appear, based on what came through on these other fundings. And that's where that 20,000 overage really is coming from, is within the foundation excavation labor. So I suspect, and this is what someone who's viewing this would know, did we run into a problem out there when we were doing the work? Was there, I know that there's limitations of what was excavated, there was already existing patio. It seems like there was a problem that they encountered, and that's what caused it. But that's up to Glenn, I guess, or whoever is overseeing the project to tell us. That's how I saw it.
Well, Jim, did you ever get an estimate for an awning?
Yes.
What
And
would
it
that
was like 25,000.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have an, well,
Yeah.
it's in two pieces. If we do one, we could do a 15 by,
He said the most
18 by
practical
15.
solution to that size was two separate awnings that would be motorized, that would retract and all that. And it would come to about 25,000.
to do the two of them. And to do one is 12,650. That's back when we estimated it too, so who knows if we do it. And the other thing is that he said to us, because of the weight, it can't go under the awning, it has to go over, which has an appearance difference. So, I mean, there's questions, we have to look at things, we don't even know how much money we have left, and if we don't have money left to fund that, then what do? Do we want to take it out of, we have the the formula grant that we could utilize, we have gift funds we could go out and fundraise for it. Those are things I think we need to be thinking about once we get settled on the cost.
We have gift and donations too.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
I think that's true. I think we have, obviously we have many options. The gift account, I don't remember the last time we took money out of the gift account. So we've got what, 50,000 in there. Also, I mean, this is an improvement to the facility, so I'd prefer not to use the gift account for that. So it would be best to utilize what's left in CPC. We can go back to CPC for additional funding. There's nothing wrong with that. That, you know, we would want to submit it for the Springtown meeting. If we add electrical and awning to the list for an article in the warrant, we could certainly do that.
I know there's the need for furniture as well. I did speak to facilities briefly and they had, this is sketch, but this is something they could come to talk about. But they said that some of the, for the pergolas, they put the wire and then you pull it open and shut and it goes underneath. And they did have one concern, and that was if they were to put the awning over, if they had to drill in for support, which is my understanding, it could ruin some of the structural integrity of it if water were to get into the metal once you drill into it. So that's one other thing that I learned, but.
Well, well,
Are we utilizing it yet? Probably not because of the season.
Oh, the pergola? Yeah, people will sit out there,
They are sitting out there a lot. I just haven't seen people sitting there.
just depending on the day.
Yeah.
But I
Especially
think,
this week.
I think too, some people have mentioned they would like some more comfortable chairs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that
So do we expect Glenn to go through the bills? or-
I don't know,
No, it's not a Glenn thing. So what we have to do is, unfortunately, probably, Elaine is probably going to have to reconcile the expenses against the budget.
which I did. I just went through that.
Okay, so
what's next? Recommend.
if you can send that to me, so I can see, where the expenses were, where the funding came from the grant first and then from CPC. And then I can contact, Glenn and go over where the overrun was, if, we're above where we thought we would be compared to the estimates that came in.
Well, my concern is again, just being double charged for materials, and perhaps that's not the case. I thought the 25 grand was gonna cover the materials, but you say it was 47, so that's more appropriate then. So this may be no shenanigans.
I don't think that. It's a pretty.
Okay. Thank
You know, it's more than likely the excavating underestimated the length of time that it would take if there were, like, Elaine mentioned, any additional, took a couple of more days than they thought.
So I guess I'm just suggesting that we understand where we are on the cost so that we can identify how much
That's
money remains for the
Yeah.
furnishings, for the for the sunscreen. And then we can move forward and start looking at what we actually, but resolve that first.
Okay. Do you have any other subcommittee reports? I don't think so.
Housing, anything?
Oh, wait, we haven't gotten liaison yet. We can do that now, yeah, let's do the liaison. So,
Okay, well, we're fully staffed at the housing authority as of last week, so. Our director started the middle of July. She's
still
20
part-time?
Oh, yeah, that's state regulation,
Okay.
22 hours a week, that's what we have, because of the size of the facility. It's based on number of units that you support. Then we have an office assistant, started 2 weeks ago, but very experienced in housing authorities, so that's great. And she is right now 12 hours a week. It will go down to 8 after the first of the year, but because we haven't had one all summer, we have extra money. And then the big thing, I think, really big thing for us is that we have a resident service coordinator. Basically, it's a social worker, started last week, just local, knows a lot of people. And, we have a huge need for that there. Great amount of Trish's time has been dedicated to people at 60 Elm Street. And this person, working with Trisha, will be taking over that function with our residents. And then also supposed to be providing more social activities, trying to get people to come out of themselves. We're placing quite a few people, and interesting, they're all either local or veterans, which is wonderful. But, you place 3 people and 2 people die. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just, we're not making a lot of headway. But now I think, and also our maintenance person who has been out for 2.5 months is back too. So that is huge.
How many vacancies do you have?
Oh, don't.
Still 22?
No, it's not 22. I think it's 10 though.
And the
And-
state,
What?
the state still picking?
Well, yeah, we still have the poll lists. I mean, I'm trying not to take a lot of time, but they were just reporting, they send out 100 applications, the 27-page applications to people on the waiting list. Costs about $3 to mail them, plus the office time of the person printing them, the paper, putting them all together, sending them out. And of those, they will get, well, let's start with, I think she reported on 50. They will get 35 back undeliverable. Okay. Those all have to be reported back into the state that this person's thing was undeliverable. But the state still doesn't take them off the waiting list. So some of the town would go through the same thing, Then of the ones that were deliverable, say 15, didn't come back undeliverable, they might get 3 responses. that say, I'm interested. And if they don't, the ones they didn't hear for, they have to send it out again, because we didn't hear from you. Are you interested? But most people don't bother. And I just found out why that was, because if they write back, no, I'm not interested, I don't want to come to Cohasset, then they only have three strikes. They can say that 3 times and then they're off the list. I never knew that before. So it's easy just not to answer. So then they have the 3 people that they can screen. And then we've also figured out finally, because our units are basically studio apartments. They have always been listed as 1 bedroom because there was a big divider in the
Yeah.
middle that
Yeah.
they, but they're not. I mean, the
Right.
divider's not, 6 feet tall.
Right.
So, so people come, now we've taken those dividers out of a lot of the units because they were falling apart. So they definitely are a studio apartment now. And people come in and they say, oh, I didn't want a studio apartment, So now we just met with Joe Machino last week about the waitlist issue again. But that was one thing we said, they have got to change that on the application and say that Cohasset is a studio apartment, and maybe that will discourage 4,000 people on our wait list right now.
Well,
But I do feel like we're making progress. If we just keep some of these people alive.
How many hours for the summer?
I think she's 18. Yeah, she's been three days a week, 6 hours.
great that you have this.
Yes, I think it will be a big help. Yeah, and Meg has already helped us make some connections for her with like South Shore Elders. And she's met with Tricia.
Beth, anything on the, affordable housing?
We're looking at sites, trying to make some recommendations.
Well, it seems
And next
the thing on Hull
project,
Street's
we've got,
moving
yeah,
pretty well.
our
really
Habitat for Humanity is really coming together. They're still looking for volunteers, if anyone wants to bang nails or do any of that stuff. But they've been getting a fair amount of volunteers, they haven't had trouble doing that. And they're talking about, ribbon cutting in like late May, early June,
Oh,
with
wow.
people moving in next year.
Are they selected both of them?
Yes, they've
Yeah.
selected both.
You want-
So, Paul, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so a quick update on affordable housing. The property owner of the Stop and Shop Plaza has decided to add 3 more affordable deeded units to the property, hopefully by November 1st. So right now there's 5 units there. He's adding 3 more. They'll become available, I believe, November 1st. So whoever can get on the list, those will become available. And 1 Pleasant Street, which accorded as the town hall, but that converted to condominiums. And there are 14 housing units there, and the first floor is going to be a school. And so the 14 condominiums now, there are 4 units that are going to be deed restricted as affordable. So they've just been approved for sewer. So now they can go out and start to solicit to sell those units. And it'd probably be 4 weeks for everything to be signed off from the town side of it. They're hoping that out of the 4 units, there'll be 2 1-bedroom units and 2 2-bedroom units. They're just going back and forth as to how many bedrooms per unit will be there for the affordable side. So those will come on the market as deeded, restricted for those who qualify for affordable housing.
And that would be a sale.
Those are for sale, right? So you own it.
So the entire first floor will be a school?
Correct.
Good.
What
That's
kind
a
of
big
school?
place.
It
It's a preschool, right? Is that what I understand?
Preschool, Paul?
I'm assuming so. They didn't state what kind, when they submitted their, plans for sewer, they have to tell you what they're gonna use the space for, and they said it was gonna be a school. So I don't know what type. It does have an occupancy limit. to how many people can be there.
Big space.
It's a large
It is.
space, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any other liaison reports? Anything from social services?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Do we have any general comments before we close the meeting?
I do have some comments when you're ready.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so two things. One is, there was a citizens petition that, that made it around, to put an article on the warrant to change the Town Manager Act. And I had been asked to speak on behalf of that article during the town meeting in December, which I agreed to do. And in doing so, the articles are reviewed by the select board and the advisory committee. So I was contacted by advisory to meet with them on the 23rd, but I'm going to be out of town on the 23rd, so I'm looking to reschedule with advisory. And I'm going to be in front of the select board on the 29th to speak on behalf of the article that's going to be on the warrant. I'm anticipating, not a lot of favorable outcome. A lot of people are not in favor of changing the Town Managers Act. They don't really focus on what the change is. They just generally oppose to changing the Town Managers Act. I don't think it's a sacred document. I think it's a living document. I think it needs to be updated from time to time. So I'll work on some language to address those concerns, I guess, for those meetings and see what happens. And then I'll put together some language for you guys to all review at some point. If you have any input or anything you would like me to specifically state, I'd be more than happy to add it to what we're going to do.
Paul, I got the impression, just to tell the community, I also am not available for the advisory on the 23rd. And my impression from Tracy was that they probably would put off the select board until after the advisory had met and heard
Okay.
us. I don't know, but I mean, I haven't heard.
She
differently.
did, yeah, she did mention that they have a publishing deadline of like November or something. So we would have to meet with advisory before that deadline. So generally they like to find out what everyone else thinks before they make a decision on the select board. So hopefully we can meet in front of both of them in time for the warrant to go to the publisher. It has to be issued to the public, I think 30 days in advance or something. I forget what the notice is, but yeah.
But they usually hand out another warrant voting document at the town meeting and they can put their recommendation in that.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it has to be in the one that goes out 30 days. I think. So, but my intention is to be with Paul at these meetings. I just asked him to speak for me because the last time I spoke at the select board meeting, I basically had a serious medical issue afterward. I unfortunately just get too riled up about the stuff. And I just, I can't.
You're meeting with advisory and who else?
The select board.
Select
Like,
board. Got it. Good. You said you had two issues?
well, the other one has to do with the agenda.
Okay.
So, you have down here the executive session.
Yep.
Right, so, there's kind of a format, that wasn't put on the agenda specifically for that.
Okay.
And there was also supposed to be a separate Zoom meeting set up for that.
Oh,
So,
Zoom.
yeah, so that was not done. So, I did get advice from, town hall, and it appears that, do you have the paragraph to read, Rich, or would you like me to do that?
Oh, the 10 items or whatever it is?
So in order to go into executive sessions, the process is that, you have to state why you're going to executive session, which basically is reading executive session 1 and stating that you're going to executive session, and then you have to state that you will not be coming back to open public meeting. And then you would adjourn the open public meeting you're in now. And that would end. And then what you would do is you would go into executive session, and somebody has to have meeting minutes for the executive sessions, has to be recorded, or the minutes have to be written as if it was a regular meeting, because they may become public at some point down the road. So that has to be done. And then you could go into executive session and end the session like you would a normal meeting. And so right now, because the Zoom meeting was not set up, there's usually a separate Zoom meeting link set up for executive session. So I won't be able to join you for the executive session. And she-
Obviously, we don't want Zoom, but. what I was
so
gonna
the Zoom that you're on right now, I suggested just turning off the recorded button.
Oh.
So it wouldn't be recorded, and they said that that would not be the correct way to do it.
Well, what I was gonna suggest is that you call in and be audio contact with us.
Okay,
That's all. Okay, so what I'd like to do is get a motion to end this meeting.
so before you end the meeting, we have to state that we're going into public meetings or executive. Do you want me to do that?
Yes, okay.
Okay. So prior to the end of this public meeting, the Cohasset Elder Affairs Board will go into executive session. The executive session is to discuss the reputation, or executive session number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than the professional competency of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. The individual to be discussed in such an executive session shall be notified in writing by the public body at least 48 hours prior to the proposed executive session, provided, however, that notification may be waived upon written agreement of the parties. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss town manager performance. And we will not be returning to open meeting after the executive session.
Everybody in agreement to that?
Sure.
Okay, with that said, take a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Next meeting is February 18th.
February?
I'm saying March. I'm still thinking of my.
No.
Hey,
I'm gonna close
November,
this
thank you.
call.
That's great.
I'm gonna end this session.
And
I
then
was having a stroke.
who's Paul gonna call into?
You can call into my phone, Paul.